Maria Pallotta-Chiarolli e magari le chiederò di
Ciao.
spiegare. Oh, I said professoressa. In che senso? How are you a professoressa?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like I'm just a community member, but I work for Deakin. I'm an honorary fellow in Deakin University. Si dice Health Sociology, di
Mhm.
cose di cultura, gender, sessualità, aboriginality, con le communities, refugee. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Ringraziamo. So thank you for coming out from a conference. You're at a conference at the moment. It's
Thank
taken us a
you.
while to organize this event, this conversation, because it's
Mm,
about a project that you've been working on for quite a while.
mm,
It's called
mm,
Mobs and Wogs. So I think everyone
mm.
knows the word Wogs. What's the Mobs bit and how do they connect?
Yeah, thank you so much, Antonio, and thank you for being so supportive all the way through. You're amazing, and the Radio Italia Uno is very amazing. So, mobs is the word that Aboriginal people use for each other, and that where non-Aboriginal people also are allowed to use. So, it talks about the different groups. So, here in Adelaide, noi siamo sulla terra di Ghana, the Ghana mob, the Ghana people. In Tantania is the Aboriginal name for Adelaide.
Ah, okay. And so Mobs and Wogs, why are they together in this
Yeah,
project?
I started doing the research because I was meeting a lot of people who are both Aboriginal and Italian, or
Mhm.
Aboriginal and Greek, Aboriginal and Maltese, and they had very important stories to tell. Some of the stories are very sad, violence, assault. But, Antonio, there were also incredible stories of love and connection and supporting each other. And many of those stories come from South Australia. So I got permission as a non Aboriginal person, I got permission
Okay.
to do the work. And I was able to do the interviews, collect stories. Sometimes people would come to me because they knew there was something in their family they wanted to talk about. So my job as a researcher is I would go off and do the research and support them in their findings. So very moving stories, Antonio.
So you said
Yeah.
you got permission to do the
Yeah.
interviews. So what does that mean?
So that means that when I was living in Melbourne, or in Aboriginal, it's called Naarm, it's on Wurundjeri country. So I went to some elders, and one of the elders was Annette Shibedas, Wurundjeri and Maltese. Her father was Maltese, 16 years old, no English, arrives in Australia, back of the
Okay.
truck, off you go, work in a chuka. And she was the first person that said, would you like to publish my story? And I said, look, I need permission because as a non-Aboriginal person, I don't know what it's like to live as an Aboriginal person. And have I got permission to tell other people's stories? So she talked to a lot of elders. And then in South Australia, I talked to Auntie Irene Allen. I talked to a lot of people who said, yes, you can. And here's some ways you can tell our stories. No hiding the truth, Antonio, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it means also that every time I write something, they check it.
Yeah.
Every photo that's going to be in the book, they have approved. And it's about being careful in the way we support each other's stories.
Well, interesting. A few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago now, I spoke to one of these Italian Aboriginals that I think you know, Dominic Guerrera,
Yes.
the
Yeah.
artist. And in the conversation, by the way, he's got some more exhibitions on right now in the
Mm,
Tantani exhibition. Uh, and he mentioned, I don't think I have the right to tell the stories of the village. And there he was saying, I can tell the stories of the Italian diaspora because that's what I know. But talking about the village life, I don't think I
mm,
can, also because his experience is different. And he was telling how
yeah.
his grandmother, his nonna, went back to the
Yeah.
village and was surprised they were no longer doing the pork, the pig, they were no longer doing the soup.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so it's about actually knowing the story. So, who
Yeah.
you've spoken to people who've got Aboriginal and Italian, Greek, or Maltese background? Is that
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
it easy or
Yeah. And
difficult to find these people?
Not really. Once people began to know about the project, and because I've been around a long time, I'm in my 60s now, people began to say, go and talk to her. You know, she does this work. She collects stories. She'll work with you, which was lovely as an ally. She'll work with you carefully. And Wakefield Press is a great publisher, that they're used to working very carefully with people. So people began to come to me. Sometimes I'd be somewhere and I'd hear a story. So, for example, our COASIT president in Adelaide is Lena Scalfino.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know that Auntie Irene Allen, who's a Nurrungeri, when she was first looking for a house to live in, she couldn't find a rent from a lot of white Australiani. She found Lena's parents and they offered her baraka.
Okay.
So for 3 years, that Aboriginal family lived with Lena Scalfino's family, sharing the backyard, sharing food, sharing culture. We need those beautiful stories.
Okay. Well, Linda's never mentioned this, so I'll have to bring it up with her
Yes.
sometime.
Yep.
And interesting. I've done the same. Once I start mentioning to people that I'm interested in finding these Italian Aboriginals, that they come out and say, "Oh, I know somebody." Last week I was talking to the current president of the Adelaide City Football Club, and he was talking about some. Well, they've got a tradition of Aboriginal soccer players, and some of them do have an Italian background.
Yes.
Okay, so you seem to focus on Italy, Greece, and Malta. You have found some. Are they from all over Australia or South Australia?
Yes. Yeah, all over Australia. And also was asked to do things like look at the missionaries, because a lot of the missionaries were Catholic from Italy. So to explore the good things, the stolen generation material. So again, the honesty to explore everything was what I needed to do. I spoke to people such as families, Italian or Greek families who lived in the outback, mining, setting up stations. And, even there, some of the stories were difficult, but some of the stories were very beautiful. And I had a lot of I've gone there. I had to, of course, everything I did, I made sure I checked with the Aboriginal people themselves. And I remember going to Tichikala in the centre of Australia, and the Greek family, the Dracopoulos family, had done so much according to their son. When I went to Tichikala, do you know, Antonio, how beautiful it was that the Aboriginal people were saying that Greek family treated us like human beings. That Greek family built a house, built our water pipes. So it was, again, part of doing this work is to make sure that everyone knows what's being said about everyone else. And to hear those beautiful stories. Some of the stories from the police weren't very good, Antonio. I'm not going to there were stories in police archives I got permission to use where there's some Italian names. Some of them, sadly, I know, but I'm not allowed to say. But there are some Italian names there from when they were out, in the 50s and 60s doing things that I'm sure now they would think I shouldn't have done that. It was a terrible time in some ways.
Okay, so you've done this, you've got permission from the elders and you've gone to speak to people, you've found people. Again, you've asked permission, you've gone to police records, it is interesting.
Yes.
And you found some very nice stories. Are there any trends? Can you findings that you can come up with?
Yes, some very interesting findings. So the positive findings, the good findings, is that there is a shared love of family, shared love of food and culture, that no matter how hard the times come, you find ways to celebrate, you find ways of staying together. So I had a lot of Aboriginal people saying things like, if you have to marry outside an Aboriginal culture, marry an ethnic, not a white person, because they get community, they get family. The negative things, especially sadly for Italians, is that they know that Italy has a history of fascism. They know some of the things that the Italians did in North Africa. So there was a feeling that some Italians were coming to Australia with some racism still there. But there was also, it was really balanced. With the Greeks, it was very different. And this is something we Italians have to learn from. With the Greeks and Maltese, there was a feeling of closeness, more closer, because the Greeks had also been through civil war. The Maltese had fought the British to be out of the Commonwealth. So a lot of Aboriginal people said, and also Aboriginal soldiers went to Greece. They fought for Australia in Greece and were protected by Greek families. So I must say, even though there were a lot of wonderful relationships with Italians, there were also some concerns because Italy in fascism had done some terrible things.
Yes. Well, interesting. A couple of things that you've mentioned resonate with what my regular guest,
Yeah,
Michele Scarcella, says. So his mother's
yes,
Aboriginal, and his
yeah,
Aboriginal grandfather fought in the Second World War. And I think he
yes,
struggled with his daughter then going
yeah,
out and wanting to marry an Italian.
yeah,
But a couple of things that he mentioned. One was the how he found soccer, the world game, and living in Western Sydney made it, shall I say, easier for someone with his background. It was a very multicultural context, both of them, both Western
yeah,
Sydney and soccer. Probably they went together. Um, yeah, and the other one has escaped me, but I was going to add maybe the concept of country, the Aboriginals talk about
yes,
country, tends maybe
mm,
territory. I think any migrant should understand the attachment to country uh,
yes,
because you're leaving a place
yeah,
that you love, you were born in, and maybe you're
mm,
not always accepted so well in the other
yeah,
place.
yeah. That was interesting. You should say that, Antonio, because we have got some of the people in the interview saying, you'd go to a bar or a pub and they'd have no avo, excuse my offensive language, no this, and then no eye ties.
Yeah.
So we don't want those people and we don't want Italians. So there was that shared racism too.
Mm.
There were also stories and also the things we don't know. I didn't know that the person who made the documentary about the tent embassy,
Okay.
who made the film, the documentary is called Ningalana. It's the first documentary of the tent embassy, the fight for rights, was made by an Italian filmmaker from Italy, Luigi I've forgotten this afternoon. Luigi, but Matteo Dutto, Professor Matteo Dutto, has studied his work. See, and I never knew it was an Italian filmmaker who made the first documentary supporting Aboriginal people for land rights in Canberra.
Okay. We might have to follow that up and
Yeah,
see if we can connect with him.
yes.
Um, so how is this project then now going? Is it going to
Mm.
come out as a journal article, as a book? What happens?
Yeah, we've done a couple of stuff. Francesco Ricatti has been a great support.
Okay.
So he and I have done two articles. There's a couple of book chapters coming, but the
Now,
full book
Francesco Riccardi, he's an academic.
is, yes, professor in Italian studies at ANU, Australian
Okay.
National University,
So,
Canberra. And when he was doing the Australian Centre for Italian Studies conference last year in Canberra, he gave us a lot of space to talk about this. Gracie Lolicato and Jessie Thorpe Kumalatsos, he's Aboriginal and Greek, and she's Italian. They gave a great workshop. So part of the project too is to give back.
yeah.
I'm putting this together, but I want people to go off and own. So as I'm writing, it's taken me a long time, but as I'm working on this project, everybody else is going out doing their own projects, which is
Mhm.
wonderful. It will be a book, and then we're going to have a web page to support people doing their own projects, their own work, getting information. So, in what we call decolonizing research, decolonialita research is you share, you give back, you don't exploit, everybody comes together. So, all the royalties, if there are royalties from this book, are going to be shared amongst all the First Peoples in the book.
Oh, okay. And when are we expecting the well, maybe you talk about how that works, how publishing a book works. But first of all,
Yes,
when are we expecting or hoping the book will come out?
yeah, it is going to come out next year. If you want to, you can talk to Michael Bolland at Wakefoot Press.
Okay.
But yeah,
Adelaide
he's got
Company.
it now. Yes, very much. We wanted an Adelaide company, but also because he did my first book, Someone You Know, in 1991 about AIDS. Then he did the Australian LGBT multicultural book, Living and Loving in Diversity. And we really trust him with the work. And I really trust because I can work very closely with him. And also, he was approved by First Peoples, including the editor. And that's something I do want to say, Antonio. I want to thank the Australian Centre for Italian Studies because they gave me some funding to pay for Casey Mulder, who's an amazing Aboriginal editor. And again, I couldn't do this book without an Aboriginal person, editor, writer, researcher, who went through the whole manuscript, making sure my language, my name of people, centres, country had to be correct.
Yeah, can you give us some examples of maybe language having to be adjusted, or what's appropriate or inappropriate wording?
Yeah, so for example, I wasn't using a capital letter for elders. I was saying Aboriginal elders. And
Okay.
Casey's like, Maria, these people are respected. They're elders. They're holding country spirit story.
Yeah.
Other things were like, I was saying Gadigal for Sydney. And Casey's like, no, Gadigal is the big country. This is so, and also things like the way you've written that can be very offensive. Say what you have to say, but do you think you can find other words to say it that isn't going to damage older people who've been through things? So having an Aboriginal person go through it, I think everyone who is going to write Aboriginal work and they're not Aboriginal should put their work through these tests, because Casey is from Perth, Budlu, and she's a Noongar person. And again, I'm so grateful to Andrea Rizzi and the ACIS to give me some money to help pay for an extra editor. And also I want to thank Sara Bavato, who's a well-known Italian journalist. Sara went through it looking for stuff from the Italian perspective. So again, the book, whatever we do, I think these days we can write about anything, but we need to make sure that people who know the stories are checking what we're writing.
And Sara Bavato, we've spoken to together with you in the context of Ascolta Women.
Yes, and they've been so supportive. Yeah.
And you're working on the next anthology that should come out in March next year.
Yes, we're so excited about that. It's on its way. Yeah, very good. And we have an event. Did I tell you we have an event? Arrivi, Vieni on November 13th, Thursday, 7 till 9 p.m.
Yes, excellent. Yes, I think we've talked about it last week with Angelina Viora.
Angelina, love her.
Yes, yeah. Interesting how she's reverted back to that name that as a child she probably didn't like or as a teenager.
Yeah, yeah.
Allora, so we have to go soon. Now, tell us about the process of writing or publishing a book. You said it's been going for a long time. First of all, how long? But then when do you get to actually writing or publishing a book? How difficult is it? How complicated?
At that point, I think most of the hard work is done. You've collected the stories, you've collected the photos. Before it goes to a publisher, the writer has to make sure that you have checked with the people you're writing about and with. Everything has to be approved. Everything has to be developed. And whatever research you've done, like, did you know that Sister Rioli, the football people, the Riolis? That's not their name. No. Sister Rioli gave them that name as a missionary. So you have to check all this, fact check. Then when you get to publishing, which is where it's now, the publisher comes in with their editor and they begin to design the book, maybe cut it down a bit. But every step has to be checked with the Aboriginal people I'm working with and the Italian and Greek people, Maltese. So hopefully this won't take too long. Hopefully I've done hard work. The book did take a long time, but Antonio, what was interesting for me, I was the one stressing. Yeah. I'm the one saying, I'm so sorry. First peoples are going, Maria, this book will have its time. We are all doing, because of this project, we're all off doing our work anyway. And you know what? That's come to pass. And because my daughter had cancer, I became a nonna. I had to move interstate. My dad died. They understood. They said, you've got to stop and take care of all this. My mum's gone into the Bene Italian village at St. Agnes.
Okay.
All these things happened. And the Aboriginal people are like, stop, take care of this time. And, Antonio, they were right, because the last 2 years of really doing this work, some amazing stories were stood out there waiting to be told. And if I had published earlier, these stories wouldn't have happened, like Michael Piovesan here in Adelaide, Lena Scalfino and Auntie Irene. So I will put you in touch with them as well. Lena, she's amazing.
Yes.
So they were right. They said, just stop worrying about time, worry about the quality, and take care of yourself and your family.
I can't pursue this one, but that brings us the other dimension of time, and what does time mean? And I won't use the expression that's used, but time can have a different meaning, a different importance in different cultures. Okay. couple more minutes. You've mentioned some other names that I hadn't heard, which is very interesting. Yes, the Riolis. I had done some research wondering if they were of Italian background, but it was probably part of an accepted approach of giving European names and maybe even trying to detach the children from their indigeneity.
That was very sad, actually. Can I just add at this point, Antonio, and you were very much part of the initial process. I can't say too much about it, but there is going to be a booklet published here in Adelaide by you amazing Italian people who are putting together the history of Aboriginal, how many Aboriginal Italians there are. I can't say more, it hasn't been launched yet, but stay tuned. It's the first time in Australia this project that you've been involved in is actually going to be done.
Yes, so interesting. It's another form of Italianness that should be explored and known about, and it's one way of helping us understand also the lives and the being of Aboriginal Indigenous Australians. And yours must be the first. Has there much formal research been done in this area?
No, I mean, there's been so many people like Francesco Riccardi, Matteo Dutto, so people have done sections of it, and they've been so kind, so I'm allowed to use their work in putting together this this bigger picture. The other thing, if I can finish off, Antonio, I know we're running out of time, is I think reading this book, hearing these stories moves me, moves all of us, especially when we hear about the no to the voice.
Yeah.
And when I hear about Italian, Australian, second, third generations who become racist to other migrants, who are still racist to Aboriginal people, they should know better. And this book may be a little bit annoying to them because they should know better, given what their ancestors went through.
Yes. Okay. Well, again, thank you very much, Maria, and thanks for taking time out of your conference that you're participating in. And we'll put this up on YouTube and we'll repeat it.
Antonio, thank you always. You've been such a great support to Ascolta and to all these projects. We need more of you. We need more of you out there.